Behind every legend lies a reason. This is Myth and Motive.
Located on the frozen ocean of the Arctic Ocean, the Arctic is one of the coldest places on Earth. The coldest temperature ever recorded in the Arctic was -69.6 degrees. The weather in the Arctic can be said to be extremely harsh for human habitation. However, unlike Antarctica, known as a land without people, the Arctic is an attractive tourist destination with many visitors drawn by its magnificent snowy landscapes and unique ecosystem. Even more interestingly, in the Arctic, despite the harsh climate, there are up to 4 million people living normally. So what have they done to adapt to these difficult living conditions? What other secrets does the Arctic hold? Please watch our video right now. As we introduced at the beginning of the video, the Arctic is a frozen ocean area. This is the region around the Earth's North Pole, opposite to the South Pole. All directions are south. When mentioning the Arctic, we often think of the Earth's North Pole. However, few people know that there are actually 2 points considered as the North Pole. These are the magnetic North Pole and the geographic North Pole. The magnetic North Pole is the point that compass needles point to in the northern hemisphere. And the position of the magnetic North Pole is not fixed, but changes over time due to fluctuations in the Earth's core. There is also the geographic North Pole. Although both are located in the frozen sea area of the Arctic Ocean, the Arctic and the geographic North Pole are 2 completely different concepts. The geographic North Pole is a specific point on the Earth's rotation axis in the Arctic region. From this point, we can determine the Arctic region. The Arctic region is defined as the northern area within the Arctic Circle at 66 degrees 33 minutes north, marking the southernmost point of the polar day. A day with 24 hours of sunlight, commonly called the midnight sun, and the polar night, a day without 24 hours of sunlight. Or to explain more simply, when moving south from the Arctic Circle, the days become shorter while the nights become longer. At a certain point, there will be a phenomenon of day or night lasting 24 hours. Accordingly, this region includes the Arctic Ocean, adjacent sea areas, and parts of Alaska, USA, northern Canada, Greenland, Denmark, Russia, Iceland, Norway. In the Arctic, there are 2 seasons, the snowy winter lasting from September to May, and the snowless winter lasting from June to August. Because it lies within the Arctic Circle, the land in this area has snow and ice cover that varies seasonally, with permafrost, mainly consisting of permafrost. Underground ice that remains frozen permanently is reserved for long periods. Notably, sea ice in the Arctic is typically a layer of floating ice on the ocean. The average thickness of this ice layer usually ranges from. However, this number can change significantly depending on location and time of year, as these large ice masses do not stay in one place but drift freely on the sea, creating a magnificent but also extremely harsh picture for those who directly experience the bone-chilling cold. Previously mentioned, the frequent movement of ice masses can also expose seawater in some areas. In recent years, many reports have indicated that the average thickness of sea ice in the Arctic has decreased due to global climate change, and the increase in Earth's average temperature. When temperatures rise, sea ice melts faster, reducing the area and thickness of the ice layer in the Arctic. Many reports even predict that in the coming decades, the Arctic Ocean may be free of sea ice during summer months. This is a terrible disaster, with profound impacts on ecosystems, global climate, and communities dependent on sea ice, while also accelerating the pace of climate change. However, the conclusions in these predictions are still causing much controversy in the community. Harsh. That's why our ancestors had the saying. According to the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, the average annual temperature in the Arctic is -40 degrees Celsius in winter and 0 degrees. Winter temperatures in January in the Arctic can range from -43 degrees Celsius, -45 degrees Fahrenheit, to -26 degrees Celsius, equivalent to perhaps averaging around -40 degrees Celsius. Summer temperatures in June, July, and out average around a freezing point of 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees. Furthermore, in the Arctic, the sun always rises at a low position on the horizon even in midsummer. Meanwhile, in winter, the sun remains completely hidden below the horizon and does not appear for many months. This phenomenon leads to the characteristic climate features of the Arctic: low temperatures, little rainfall, strong winds, and snow cover. Not to mention, the light surface of ice and snow in the polar region also has high reflectivity. This means that most of the energy from incoming sunlight is reflected back into space, making the air above the ground even colder than it already is. However, because it is surrounded by the Eurasian and North American continents and located in the Arctic Ocean, this ocean acts as a heat storage and temperature regulator. So temperatures in the Arctic, although low, are still warmer than in Antarctica, which is surrounded by ocean. Moreover, even though the Arctic is covered by ice, seawater can absorb and store heat better than land, making the climate in the Arctic warmer. Despite having a harsh climate, contrary to that, the Arctic possesses a magical beauty that attracts tourists with its magnificent snowy landscapes, an extremely unique ecosystem, and distinctive indigenous culture. Even experts believe that these harsh conditions have created a unique and diverse ecosystem. Accordingly, besides the massive icebergs at sea, the Arctic also has many seasonal sea ice layers that appear, combined with the aurora, a magical natural phenomenon, creating a magnificent natural land. Particularly, one of the sights that attracts tourists to this area is the phenomenon of the sun not fully setting, but only hovering above the horizon in summer. This is an unforgettable experience for those lucky enough to witness it. Beyond the natural beauty, as mentioned, the Arctic region also possesses a unique ecosystem, rated as the most unique among Earth's ecosystems, where indigenous cultures and peoples have adapted to the cold and harsh conditions. It is known that Arctic vegetation mainly consists of grasses, mosses, algae, and small shrubs. These are all plant species capable of withstanding cold and growing rapidly during the short summer, playing a crucial role in providing food for animals. Additionally, when mentioning polar bears, walruses, whales, and reindeer, people often immediately think of the Arctic. In reality, life here includes organisms living in the ice, plankton, fish, marine mammals, birds, terrestrial animals, plants, and even human communities. The Arctic land is surrounded by diverse subregions, creating a vivid and rich picture. The most iconic representative of the Arctic is the polar bear. The Arctic polar bear evolved from the brown bear's northernmost regions and the continents. Similar to the present, so polar bears had no opportunity to migrate elsewhere. Therefore, they are primarily concentrated in areas with year-round sea ice formation, and the Arctic is precisely that region. However, researchers believe that polar bears typically do not exceed the 82nd parallel because their main food sources are concentrated in ice-covered sea areas. The distribution range of bears starts from the southern James Bay to the entire Arctic, but they are less numerous around the Arctic Circle in Alaska, Canada, Greenland, Norway, Russia, Iceland. Moreover, researchers have also reported the presence of this bear species in the territories of various countries, such as Alaska and Northwest Alaska, Canada, Greenland, Svalbard, Norway, Russia. This is a fairly large-sized species, with lengths of 2.4 to 2.6 meters for adult males, or 1.9 to 2.1 meters for adult females, and weights from 500 to 800 kilograms, equivalent to 5 to 7 men. Additionally, according to the International Polar Bear Organization, the weight of the largest bear ever recorded was 1 ton. The most noticeable feature of polar bears is their pure white, very thick, and waterproof fur. This characteristic is perfectly suited to the harsh living conditions in the Arctic, as the thick fur helps them retain body heat in extremely low temperatures. This fur also has insulating properties, preventing heat loss from the body. Furthermore, beneath the fur is a layer of fat over 10 centimeters thick that keeps the body warm even at temperatures below -40 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, the white fur helps polar bears camouflage effectively against the snowy ice pack, facilitating hunting and avoiding enemies. Notably, polar bears also have a quite keen sense of sight, and with this sense, polar bears can detect food from a distance of about 32 kilometers, or can smell the breath of seals in the ice from as far as 800 meters away. Dear friends, despite the climate and difficult conditions, as we have seen, the Arctic is still home to many species. However, what is even more astonishing is the presence of humans here. Before discussing the human presence in the Arctic, we would like to share a very interesting fact that, upon hearing, you might be astonished, and few people know about it. There is an annual marathon race held in the Arctic. Accordingly, athletes must face the biting cold to complete the 42.195 kilometers distance on the icy ground. Notably, athletes have to pay a participation fee, amounting to over $1 billion to have this experience. Indeed, the rich not only have money but also a distinct way of spending it. Returning to the breadth of humans in the Arctic. Dear friends, throughout history, many explorers have claimed to have found the Arctic. Among these, the most controversial claim was made by two explorers, Frederick Cope and Robert Peary. They returned from their Arctic expedition in 1909. Both claimed to be the first to reach the world's North Pole. Accordingly, Cope claimed he discovered the Arctic in 1908, a year earlier than Peary's claimed visit. To this day, who was the first to reach the Arctic is still hotly debated. However, according to a blog post by the UK National Archives, the first person to reach the Arctic was identified as the Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen in 1926. He was also the first to reach the Antarctic. He flew over it in an airship. Notably, before these claims, there had been communities living here for thousands of years. In fact, those living in the Arctic are primarily indigenous peoples. The first community we must mention is the Inuit. With a history spanning over 4,000 years, the Inuit in the Arctic are not only famous for their extraordinary survival skills, but also possess a unique and diverse culture. Accordingly, the Inuit belong to the Eskimo-Aleut ethnic group. According to archaeologists, these inhabitants are descendants of the Thule people, an Arctic culture that flourished around 1000 AD. The Inuit belong to the Eskimo-Aleut ethnic group, with a history of over 4,000 years. According to archaeologists, the Inuit originated from Asia. They are descendants of the Thule, an Arctic culture that flourished around 1000 AD. But they have a migration history that spans multiple stages. Accordingly, the ancestors of the Inuit migrated from Siberia across the Bering Strait to Alaska, then spread east to Canada and Greenland. The Inuit have an extraordinary ability to adapt, living in the harsh conditions of the Arctic. It is known that to survive, they developed sophisticated hunting and fishing tools and techniques. Archaeological remains have revealed tools made of ivory, animal bones, and intricate ice houses, showcasing the creativity and resilience of these inhabitants. Danish explorer Knud Rasmussen, one of the first to deeply study Inuit life, described them as children of the Arctic. He spent many years living with the Inuit and recorded details of their daily lives. From how they hunt seals and whales to traditional rituals and unique belief systems. Archaeologists believe that the Inuit are not merely inhabitants of the polar region but also preservers of a unique culture, closely tied to nature and the harsh environment. For example, personal hygiene. It is known that in the harsh conditions of the Arctic, the Inuit developed a unique bathing method. They light a fire in the tent, dance to warm their bodies and sweat. The sweat washes away dirt, combined with using snow to wipe the body, helping to cleanse it. And after bathing, they apply seal fat to protect their skin from the cold climate. And this is a vivid testament to human adaptation to the harshest conditions on Earth. The life of the Inuit is closely linked to hunting and gathering. The Inuits' diet is mainly from animals, rich in protein and fat, helping them withstand the cold. Their main food sources are seafood and mammals, such as seals, whales, and reindeer. These Inuit hunt them using traditional tools like spears and harpoons. In fact, experts note that the Inuit have a unique culinary culture. With foods like muktuk and kivia, they demonstrate creativity in utilizing available resources. Meanwhile, they show meticulousness and skill through clothing made from animal skins that provide warmth. Besides their adaptability to harsh living conditions, the Inuit are also renowned for building a unique culture. One of these is the igloo. These are snow houses meticulously built from tightly packed snow blocks. Thanks to their circular architecture, igloos are not only temporary winter shelters for the Inuit, but also symbols of their ingenuity. Additionally, Inuit art comes from carving, music, and especially the throat singing technique, katachak, which is a unique culture, reflecting the sophistication and talent of the Inuit. Moreover, artistic works are not only beautiful but also carry stories and deep beliefs about the surrounding world. In general, these are people famous for their special connection with nature. and they are considered representatives of human breath with deep roots in primitive life in the snow-covered regions. Besides the Inuit in the Arctic, there are the Sami people, famous reindeer herders, and the way the Sami came to the Arctic is also very interesting. According to archaeological researchers, the ancestors of the Sami, also known as Lapps, migrated to the Arctic from Asia. Overall, the history of the Sami is tied to this harsh land for thousands of years. They are also one of the oldest indigenous peoples existing in the Arctic. Like the Inuit, the Sami have adapted remarkably to life in the polar regions. They mainly live in Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and parts of Russia. They live primarily in traditional small wooden houses and unique tents like akata and lavu. Lavu tents have a conical shape, erected from tree branches, while the wooden frame is bent and covered with reindeer skin on the outside. Meanwhile, inside the lavu tent, there is a fireplace. The unique aspect of the Sami is that these fireplaces are always lit for warmth and cooking. Around the fireplace are fur beds for the family. Lavu tents and small wooden houses are grouped together to form villages. The village Rasina is similar to our administrative unit today. One characteristic of the Sami is sharing food. It's not just a polite invitation. Anyone visiting a home is invited by the Sami to share a meal. This characteristic reflects the hospitality and community spirit of the Sami. Their diet mainly comes from natural food sources. Reindeer meat is the primary source of protein. In addition, they eat fish, bird meat, and vegetables and lichens found in nature. Yet the Inuit are famous for building a unique culture. The Sami are renowned for their nomadic culture, moving with reindeer herds to find food. Thus, living in cold regions, closely associated with the wilderness creatures of the snowland, especially reindeer. Therefore, the Sami are the only people in these countries allowed to hunt and domesticate reindeer. Moreover, reindeer provide the Sami with almost everything they need. Meat for eating, skin for clothing, pendants for bowstrings, antlers for tools, and even means of transportation. In fact, reindeer herding and domestication is not just a profession but a fundamental cultural aspect of the Sami community. An indispensable part of their culture and lifestyle. Much of the Sami life involves following reindeer herds as they move seasonally to find lush pastures. Besides that, men typically take responsibility for hunting, fishing, and building houses, while women take on family care, crafting, and food processing. Children are taught from a young age to live in harmony with nature and participate in family work. A special point is that these people hunt reindeer selectively and with respect for nature. Because throughout history, the Sami have faced many difficulties, especially during the colonial period. They were pushed northward and forced to adapt to life in more remote, harsher lands, thus developing resilient characters, closely tied to nature and nomadic life. In summary, reindeer are not only a source of livelihood but also an indispensable part of Sami culture and spirit. The relationship between people and reindeer has existed for thousands of years and has become a characteristic symbol of life in the Arctic. Another community in the Arctic whose life is closely tied to reindeer is the Nenets people. In fact, the Nenets are still little known to the world and are even classified among the most mysterious tribes. This stems from their seasonal migration characteristics and the harsh living conditions in the Arctic, which isolate them and preserve their traditional customs. Their ancestors appeared about 42,000 years ago, and according to statistics, there are over 40,000 Nenets living in the Arctic. They mainly live in Siberia, Russia. Like the Sami people, the life of the Nenets is closely linked to reindeer herds. For thousands of years, with a nomadic lifestyle, the Nenets have moved with their reindeer herds across the Yamal Peninsula in Russia's Arctic region. To this day, this group still maintains their traditional lifestyle and avoids modern civilization as much as possible. To survive in the harsh Arctic, the Nenets live in mobile tents made from reindeer skin. These homes can be easily assembled and disassembled. For the Nenets, reindeer not only provide meat and milk but also serve as transportation and a source of skin and fur for making clothes, setting up tents, and other daily necessities. Every part of the reindeer is maximally utilized, from meat, bones, skins, and tendons. They have formed a symbiotic relationship with this animal and maintained that lifestyle for centuries. The Nenets have their own language and a rich oral tradition. Notably, reindeer play an important role in the spiritual life of the Nenets. They are not only considered family members but also symbols of wealth and strength. Moreover, the Nenets have a tradition of raising a sacred reindeer that is not to be slaughtered. Nenets culture also revolves around reindeer, from traditional festivals like reindeer herding festivals to distinctive dishes made from reindeer meat. Currently, the Nenets are facing many challenges due to climate change and resource extraction activities. These factors are changing the living environment of the Nenets and their reindeer herd. Furthermore, gas extraction projects have disrupted reindeer migration routes, causing environmental pollution and affecting their food sources. This has led many young Nenets to no longer feel attached to this place and begin seeking new opportunities in other regions. Thus, the Inuit, Sami, and Nenets are the main communities living in the Arctic. These communities share the prominent commonality of being able to adapt to harsh climates. And it is precisely that harsh climate that has forged a unique and deeply distinctive culture. From special rituals and beliefs honoring the sun, moon, wind, and water, to exquisite carvings made from ivory, animal bones, and even stone, all leave a deep impression. One cannot overlook the spiritual life of Arctic people, which is closely connected to nature. Overall, archaeologists evaluate the culture of indigenous peoples in the Arctic as a precious heritage of humanity. It is evidence of human resilience and creativity. They have lived in harmony with nature for thousands of years and created a unique and colorful culture. This is also what attracts tourists to explore the Arctic. Nevertheless, the Arctic is also facing challenges due to climate change. Melting ice, rising sea levels, and changes in animal species are seriously affecting food sources and traditional lifestyles of the people here. Arctic people are still striving to preserve their traditional culture and find ways to adapt to environmental changes. With the interesting information we've learned and shared, the Arctic still holds many mysteries waiting for us to discover. Hopefully, you will have a deeper insight into this icy land. A mysterious and fascinating land with pristine beauty, unique ecosystems, and distinctive indigenous culture like the Arctic deserves protection. Let's join hands to protect the Arctic environment and spread this message. Our video ends here. If you want to know more about the Arctic, please share in the comments below. Goodbye and see you again. Subscribe to the Gian Migo channel so you don't miss exciting videos.
If the legend hooked you, subscribe and open the next case.